Welcome to Best by Decade Horror Movies presented by ActionNerd.com. It's where my daughter and I, Danielle, go through and look at the scariest movies by decade. Like and subscribe. Hi, everyone. Steve from ActionNerd.com, and my daughter Danielle's with me as
Hello.
we count down the top 20 plus one best horror movies by decade, and this is the 1990s. And hey, thanks for the comments in there. You know, this is a bit more mainstream horror, but I love some of the suggestions of the off the wall and some of the most underrated horror that you guys have provided. So thank you. So you ready?
I
Let's kick
noticed
this off. What?
I noticed the comments too, and I was reading some of them, and some of them I hadn't heard yet, so I wanted to definitely look at them, check them out. Those are
Yeah.
good suggestions.
Let's talk about Silence of the Lambs at number one. This is a Jodie Foster movie, introduced everyone to Hannibal Lecter, which is iconic now. I guess you can be judged to be iconic when Spirit Halloween Store makes an animatronic of you, which they did for Anthony Hopkins. Uh, I remember going to see this at the movie theater. Big thing. Great trailer. We're showing the trailer now as we always do. Really big names, big Hollywood star, big Hollywood production. It's got everything. It's got gore, it's got creeps, it's got Anthony Hopkins' eyes looking at you. Famous quotes and famous lines all over the place in this movie. And you know, this was made to not only freak you out psychologically, but to grotesque you. I mean, there's scenes, the jail scene in the cage that he takes care of the guard in there. And you know, if you haven't seen it yet, tough on the spoiler alerts. You got to see it. So there's a lot of great things, and of course, this spawned some sequels and a TV show. But this is the go-to, I think, and um, it was groundbreaking. I would absolutely say it just was. It was something that you knew could actually happen, and probably has. I don't know. What did you find
Right.
out about this?
Yeah, I really like Silence of the Lambs. Agreed on everything you said. It's just a good classic horror movie, psychological thriller, all that fun stuff. So some of the things that I read about this was Hannibal Lecter was actually only on screen for 16 minutes out of like the 118 minutes that the movie was,
Oh,
which I
wow.
think is pretty interesting because he's such he's the main character, but really you don't see him that much. He also won the Best Actor Academy Award. And if you think about it, that was actually the shortest performance to win that type of award because he
Oh,
was only on
yeah.
screen for
Yeah.
16 minutes. The voice of Death's head moth, like the eerie buzzing sound, was made from hissing cockroaches, which is disgusting,
Ugh.
and the sounds of the tech worker's own voice, or not the tech worker, sorry, the technician's own voice, which is pretty cool. Um, Obviously, this was a big role for Jodie Foster, and Foster actually shadowed an FBI agent to really like prep for the role and get in the zone, which I think is good dedication.
Yeah.
And then my little last fact was that Hannibal was based off a real life doctor, Alfredo Bali Trevino, who was a convicted murderer who was then turned into a physician in Mexico. He
Wow.
had like intelligence and charm. And so the author of the book that this movie was based on actually met the Alfredo doctor guy. And I bet that probably helped him as he was making this movie.
Yeah. Did you find this scary?
I think it's more psychological than scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't remember many jump scares in it. I
Right.
remember a ton of twists and turns when they when Jodie Foster's is in the house and then you think she's going to get rescued, if I got that right, and they're knocking
Yeah.
on the door and it's the wrong house. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
great stuff in there. And of course, the whole pit scene, the dancing part, that I
Hmm.
mean, that gets reenacted in comedy sketches
Yeah.
and everything else. But that was just a movie that I thought knocked it out of the park. I don't know anybody that didn't care for it. Everybody loved
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs. It was just
Yeah.
amazing, amazing stuff. Let's go to number two, and that is going to be really creepy.
Dramatic pause.
Dramatic pause because I'm trying to read it. It's Scream. And
I love this
Scream,
one.
it starts with Drew Barrymore
Hmm.
getting the phone call, and then all hell breaks loose from there. And I mean they kicked this one off really well. It just
Hmm.
went boom. And I, I think with the cast that it had, you had Courtney Cox in it. I think David Arquette was in it, and that's where they met before they got married.
Okay. I
And
know that who's the Hottie Lamati guy that like licks his fingers at the end? He's just known to be a hottie. Not Scooby-Doo guy, the other guy, the killer guy.
uh, I
If
don't
you
know.
remember his name.
No, I don't remember his name either.
Well, all the girlies will know.
Oh, okay.
He was a heartthrob. His that scene is
Was it
like,
Pee Wee Herman?
yeah, it was Barry. That too.
Okay.
Wait, rest in peace. Did he?
Yes.
Yeah. Aw, too
Paul
soon. All right.
Rubens.
Sorry. But I love this movie. Me and my friend just watched it last weekend together. And I think it's a great like that high school slasher gore
Yeah.
film. A twist and turn at the, throughout when you're thinking about who the killer is and whatnot. So
Yeah,
it's
I
good.
mean it had Nev Campbell, right? Uh
Hmm.
Rose McGowan in it. Like the people that were hot at the time of that age group. Um, it had all the elements that you'd want to go see on a date night or hang out with the friends. And Ghostface, of course, became iconic
Yeah.
also. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
can't walk into a Halloween aisle even today and not find a different version or the version of the Ghostface mask.
Right.
And you see it on little kids as well as adults. So it's one of those I don't know. It's so iconic that is it still scary? Because everyone sees it so often. That's the difference with something like that. Now, Scream has been remade. What are they at 8 or something like that now?
Probably. There's so many like spin-offs too. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just released one. I tried to watch it on the plane, I think last month, and uh, I talked about I didn't want to keep watching it because I was on a plane. I was afraid somebody would walk by and think I'm a weirdo watching like stabbing scenes and stuff because the opening scene of the new one is just as violent as this one. Um,
Oh yeah.
Lots of twists and turns, but I didn't get through it. I didn't find it interesting enough. But the Scream 1 and Scream 2, I really enjoyed those. I thought that they were good, they were well done, they were scary, they were funny. It
Mhm.
was all of those Friday the 13th and that mixture. You could tell they were just bringing that genre into the 90s, which the 90s then became technically better, cinematically better. The actors were better. They weren't considered B movies then. They were summer blockbusters or whatever. So there was
Yep.
a lot more to these shows than, in the past. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And the opening scene, because like I said, I just watched this last weekend. The opening scene is so sad. It made the worst part about it is when she's screaming for her mom and her mom and dad are like getting home and she's like screaming, Mom, but she can't she got her, throat slit. That that one made me tear up because I was like, that's horrible.
It
That's
is
really,
horrible.
really scary.
Like I thought
I
the
didn't like
opening
that.
scene was almost the best scene in the whole movie
Oh, for sure. For sure.
because we've all thought of that. Like you can't get help and they're right there
Yeah.
and you
It's like a nightmare. Like
it
when you're trying to
is.
dial 911 and like I can never dial it in my
Yeah.
dreams.
I thought it was great. I think most of the movies on this list I really, really liked. Uh,
Agreed.
this next one, number three,
Yeah.
uh,
Guess
broke
what?
broke a whole thing. This was Blair Witch Project, and this was started. And it may be there may have been something ahead of it, but this is
Right.
called found footage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I just
found
watched this
footage.
last night, by the way.
Oh, you
So it's
did?
fresh in my mind.
Oh,
Yes.
well, what did you think?
I've seen this a million times before. I love this movie, and so I love just rewatching it again. It's so good. The found footage is like my favorite. I would say it's my favorite like type of horror movie, but I just love the like you don't really ever see any monster or like, the Blair Witch. You don't see anything. You
I
just
thought you
hear.
see the witch in the corner at the end or something.
No, well, first of all, you just got me scared for a second thinking there's a person in my room. But no, you see the guy, he's standing in the corner of the room just
Okay.
staring at a wall. I think they were originally going to show the witch, but then decided against it. But yeah, I love this movie. The scene where she's holding the camera and you like just see her boogery nose and her
Yeah.
eyes, and she's crying and she's like, "I'm so scared." I remember my Uncle Brett when we were filming, like making like a funny video at Grandma's house or something. He had me go in the closet and pretend to do that scene when I was a child. I wish I had that tape. I don't know where it
Oh,
would
that'd
be,
been
but
great.
yeah. I love it. And I have some good facts, but if you want to say some more about what
No,
you
no,
think
go
about this
ahead. Go
movie.
ahead with the facts because
Okay.
listen, first of all, I didn't think this was that great or scary. It was
Really?
okay. When this came out, this was built up as the most horrifying motion picture ever made. And so I went in thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna really get scared because I'm already chicken in
Yeah.
most movies." And
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was
Mm.
good. And what they did with it was great because it was another low budget. I'm sure you'll have that, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it didn't live up to the greatest horror movie ever made. So what do you
Are you
got?
sure? Because
I'm
it just
choking
took your
up
breath
on it.
away. Yeah, it
That's
just
the
took your breath
witch.
away.
The witch is getting me.
Yeah, Blair Witch, she's coming for you. So uh, I watched a TikTok that came up about this movie too, and just some like little interesting facts. What they actually did was they just, hired a couple actors and they tried to actually make them lost. They really just gave them a map, gave them a campus or compass,
Or a
Jesus,
campus.
or a campus, and like kind of let them wander. And so they did get lost a few times. Of course, the filmmakers are nearby, but it caused that like anxiety and fear that they really had to portray, obviously, in the film. Um, there was a minimal script, which gave like maximum improvisation. And so there wasn't really a traditional script for this movie. They were just given plot points and they just kind of ran with it, which I think is really cool.
That is cool.
Um, the I'm so scared scene that I was talking about earlier was actually improvised. Tell me if this is true. And I was talking to my boss about this movie too. She said when this movie was being, the trailer was coming out and everything, everybody thought it was real. Like there was even a website that was made that people would go to and it said like this is real stuff. That it presented the footage as real. Did you feel that vibe
Yeah,
back
so that
when
was
this
the
was released?
marketing of this is that this is not a movie, this was actually found. Now,
Yeah,
most people realized it was marketing and super well done marketing because it did do tremendous amounts at the
yeah.
box office. And then of course they
250 million.
yeah, that's a ton. And then they released two and it pooped its pants. The
Two
second one
was
was horrible.
was weird. It was weird. I still watched it though, but yeah, no, nothing like the first one. And
Yeah.
they only had a $20,000 budget, and
Yeah,
they grossed
listen,
250 million.
I thought the creepiest part of this was their discovery of the twig things in the forest.
Stop! I'm scared. I keep getting chills.
Well, and for one
Ugh.
Halloween in Oklahoma, I created those twig things in our front yard and
Yeah.
made an altar that kids had to go to the altar to get candy. And I remote rigged a leaf blower underneath it. So when they reached for it, I could hit the
I-
button and the leaf blower would blow maximum air all on the kid. And it scared the hell out of him. So, and there was candles all around it, melted candles. And it looked really creepy, but that was
yeah, I'm
my
sure.
inspiration. I have pictures of that. I wish I could, maybe I'll find those and throw
Yeah, see
those
if you
up
can find them.
in post production. But listen, it was okay. I just didn't live up to the expectations.
I love it. I do not agree with the okay status. I think this is a really good movie. I love this movie. That's
Oh,
why I watch it over and over again.
well, I'm glad. I'm glad. But have you seen the next one?
Yes, Candyman.
Candyman, Candy. Oh, you can't say it three times, right?
Yeah, don't say it. He's gonna come behind you.
Yeah, so this again is Clive Barker. And Clive Barker, of course, is from Hellraiser. He did the Hellraiser. He did
Oh, okay.
Nightbreed, Hellraiser. He was a horror author, one of the few people I've ever read, because I don't like to read books. Um, Virginia Madsen was in this, and this was very much a take on Bloody Mary, right? The
Yeah. Yes.
same type of thing, only brutal. I mean,
Hmm.
this was not like let's um insinuate this happened. This was boom, 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 brutal, and a great story and great acting. I think the
Hmm.
acting was outstanding. This is a movie you do not want to watch home alone.
Alone.
No way.
Yeah.
I would not. I think it was good. Now I saw it at the theater. Um, and I believe there's a few sequels. I don't know if you have any information on that, but
There is at least one. I know that. And then there was a remake of the original
yeah,
recently.
just a great movie. What do you got
Hmm.
for me on this?
So remember the bee swarm scene?
Yeah.
Like all the bees everywhere. So those were real bees.
Ugh.
They were specially bred in, let's see, New Zealand, I believe. They were only 12 hours old, which makes them appear mature, but their stingers are less potent. And the actor
How about
Todd,
just
he
stinging
put,
it in general? That would hurt.
well, well, listen to this.
Okay.
The actor Todd put a clause in his contract that said every bee sting he receives, he gets $1,000. And he was stung 23 times. So he made a little chunk of money from the bee
I
stings,
don't
which,
know that I would take that. That I would not
yeah,
get stung for
yeah,
$1,000.
that doesn't sound nice.
Right.
It was actually filmed in a really dangerous area in Chicago, and the crew had to pay off the local gangs that were in the area so they
Oh
could shoot
wow.
in those spots. And apparently there was a sniper was reportedly fired at like a filming van. And so
Nice.
that's a little scary. Some more facts. Tony's voice was lowered in post-production, so that's interesting. And then actually you already said the fourth one that it was based on Bloody Mary, so we've all
Yeah.
done that as children.
Which is everybody grew up with that. If you went to a slumber
Right.
party, you said it. Uh, Next up is The Sixth Sense. And this put Lam Shamalama Ding Dong Dam, whatever, however you say it, M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
Malam.
on
Okay,
the
whatever.
map. I mean,
Mm, okay.
and this, I mean, you got Bruce Willis, who's big
Right.
star, right? That little kid, I forgot what his name is.
Oh,
Osmond, something.
yeah,
Yeah,
Osmond
not
is the last name.
yeah. He was one of the Osmond brothers.
Hmm.
No, he was not one of the Osmond brothers.
Stop, you made me, I
He
accidentally
was
said,
actually
hmm.
he was actually in the Jackson Five, but he was fantastic in this movie, and I remember seeing this and everybody saying, "Do not tell the ending. Do
Yeah, I
not
mean, if
tell
you
the
do,
ending."
that's so mean.
Yeah,
Because
because if you the ending is the whole movie, and that
should we still not say the ending?
we won't
Just
say
in
the
case our
ending in case,
viewers
yeah, in
haven't
case you
seen
haven't
it.
seen it. In case you have not seen it, we're not saying the ending, but it has to do with the Osmonds fighting the Jackson Five at the very last scene. But this was so well done that I think the ending surprised everybody that saw
Yes.
this movie. I certainly didn't expect it. I don't know if anybody expected it. If you did, you're brilliant. But wow, what a super well done movie. And then again, it catapulted the director
Right.
into stardom that I really don't know if he's ever been able to repeat this. There were some bombs that he did. I remember
Right.
one called The Happening where it was the plants that were killing everybody in the world or causing you to go nuts. But
Mm.
um, this one was just unbelievable. And the ending is what made this movie. It really did. I don't know that you'd call it a horror as much as a very
No.
suspenseful thriller, but I guess
Yeah.
the premise of the end makes it the horror. What do you
Yeah, I
think?
guess. Well, speaking of the ending was actually kept from the cast. Like it was a secret. Even the cast didn't know the ending, which is pretty interesting. I maybe not all the cast, but that's what it said. It did have a budget of 40 million, which is a ton, and it
Woo.
grossed 600 wait, 670 million is what it grossed.
Yeah.
So good for them. Color red would constantly appear in the movie, and that would symbolize that something like supernatural is about to happen. So if
Oh,
you see the color red, you can like anticipate that something
I
really
didn't know
spooky is going
that.
to
Easter
happen.
egg.
Yep. But I love this movie. I think I agree with you that it doesn't seem really horror, more like thriller,
Yeah.
suspense, like you said. But still a really good one on the list for
Yeah.
sure.
Super good. Guess what's up next?
I'm scared because I didn't write notes on this one. Is it my favorite?
It is your favorite.
Also
Leprechaun.
the worst? Okay,
Leprechaun.
let me talk about
You
this.
got it. It's all
10 years
yours.
ago. This movie is the scariest movie in the entire universe. It has single-handedly changed my life. When I was a child and I watched it, something in my brain got messed up, and I have forever been terrified of leprechauns. Not the
Because they're
dumb
real.
little, yes, they are real, but also I that specific leprechaun is so scary. I remember we had the DVD of it, and I would have to block him off because even seeing the cover of him is terrifying. Speaking of that, my dad, 2 or 3 Christmases ago, got me a signed copy of what's his name?
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis. He signed his picture of him as the leprechaun autographed to me. I had to, we're gonna show what that looks like. You'll see it on the screen. It was an awesome gift, but it was also very terrifying for me where I can't even display it in my house. It had to be put away in the garage in a bin. I love this movie, but I hate this movie. If you think about it, it's kind of a dumb movie. But it was a really good I'm assuming this was like Jennifer Aniston's one of her first roles.
Yeah, I think so.
Because she was very young.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a good movie. They had a bunch of sequels, Leprechaun into
In
Hood, and
in
like all
space.
these,
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
all over.
super dumb. I've never seen. I think I like started to watch the Hood one and then turned off because it's just dumb. It is a silly movie, you think about it, but as a child seeing it, it forever changed my life. And the thing, if you ask me what I'm afraid of, it'll be aliens and leprechauns. Everybody laughs, but it's scary and they're real. So that's
Well,
all I have to say.
my favorite part of this is Francis is in it. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Uh, tell, tell me who, because I.
Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. The guy that played
Oh
Francis
yes,
is in this
yeah.
movie.
You're right. Wait,
Um,
is what is? Yeah. He plays just like the big fat fatty guy.
oh, great. Thanks a lot.
Gonna say no
Why you
offense,
got
but
to
I didn't
describe
want
him like that? So
Don't worry,
listen,
I'm right there with you.
I did not I did not go to see this at the movie Leprechaun.
Yeah, when did you see it?
I bought the DVD and got it because you remember at one time we had about 5,000, and that's not a lie,
Yeah,
5,000 DVDs in our house that
I
were
know.
just
The
that
huge,
whole thing was
yeah.
bookshelves of our living room, which was insane. But so I would buy up everything I could find. And we did watch it. We had the theater in our house, which was
But
very early on.
if this, what year, did you write down what year this movie was made?
Well,
Do
it's
you
in the
happen to know?
90s. No, I
Well,
didn't
we know
write it
that.
down.
Okay, well, because I'm thinking, I don't think when I watched it, we had all that yet. So do you happen to remember like when you first saw it or when I would have first seen it? Because I don't think it would have been like when we had a movie theater and all the shelves.
Yeah,
Like it was
I
when I was
no, I don't
young.
know. It was probably earlier than that. I got it because it was horror, and I'd grab anything that was horror,
Right.
especially if it was cheap horror, which those were probably not full price DVDs for that
Yeah.
because it was, I don't even know if it was a B movie. It might have been a C movie. But
Mm.
like you said, Warwick Davis was so nice about getting that. There was a whole thing to do with that where I found out his website had been hacked. And because I had ordered it and I reached out to him, he reached back out to me, which I was thrilled because
Yeah, that's
Warwick
cool.
Davis to me was an Ewok in Star Wars. I could care less about
Right.
Leprechaun, right? So, but he got that to you. I think he wrote "Give me back my pot of gold" or
Yeah,
something on
something
that.
along those lines.
And
I want
again,
me gold.
yeah, I mean, he did a great job. It was great makeup, really good makeup. The story
So
was
scary.
absolutely silly. There was a ton of cussing in this. I remember the F word was
Oh
all
yeah,
through
it
this
was
thing,
bad.
which
Yeah.
like it really offended me. But um,
Yeah.
it was okay. I mean, it was a fun movie that's, a child's play type thing, a trilogy of terror
Trilogy.
type thing. It's the leprechaun that took the gold, and it had an okay story. It was kind of even a Gremlins type thing, where you just had that. give me back my stuff, and it would have been cool. But I don't know. It was okay. I don't think I'd rewatch the thing ever,
I
ever,
would because it
ever.
scares me. I don't think this isn't deserving of like
Wait a
top
second.
20.
Is that
What?
Tony behind you?
Stop! I'm gonna get scared. I'm actually scared. I was really trying to focus and not be scared.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Um,
Give
well
me
now I
my
forgot what I was gonna
phone.
say. Never mind. I forgot what I was gonna say that I don't think this really deserves top 20, top
No,
10, obviously in the
no.
90s. But I had to put it on this list because it means so much to me. It ruined my life and it's terrifying. Don't watch it unless you want it to be changed forever.
Oh yeah. Oh, of
It's
course.
constantly on my mind. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
For
Well,
my whole life.
so we saw the 70s and 80s with Stephen King stuff coming up a lot. And this one is also Stephen King. This is Misery. It
Oh, I
starred
like this
James
one.
Caan and damn it if I can't remember Kathy Bates.
Yes.
And this was this is horror without a makeup monster. This is a
Hmm.
nut lady that is
Yeah.
horrific. And I mean, it is brutal in a sense. It's not normal. There's no chainsaw, there's no slasher guy, but there's a maniac, and it's so well acted. And this plot of she wants to know how it ends, and what do you mean it ends that way? And it's your psycho fan.
Hmm.
And it, I don't know. I loved it. I saw it at the theater and absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I like this movie too. It's a good storyline, spooky enough, not like the spooky that we're used to, where it's, too much gore, slasher and stuff, but it's good. Um, some of the things that I found on this film was that Kathy Bates, I guess at that time, wasn't really that well known. And so she did win an Academy Award for Best Actress, which was the first woman to win that Oscar or that, award for horror at the time. So that was
Oh,
pretty cool. In the book, Stephen King's book, she doesn't just break his ankles because we all know and remember that kind of that scene or
yeah.
that part of the book, or sorry, the movie. She actually cuts off his foot with an axe and then cauterized it. I don't know the word
Yeah,
with
yeah,
a
that's right.
blowtorch, which is really nasty. And apparently they couldn't do it that bad, so they had to kind of tone it down and just, break his ankles instead of actually chopping it off. Um, and the whole theme of this is, it's a crazy fan type of thing. So
Yeah.
Stephen King actually based this off of a really intense fan that would show up at his house. And so he kind of based it off of that
Oh, wow.
person. Jack Nicholson was actually supposed to be Paul, the main guy in the movie, but he was really hesitant to do another Stephen King movie. So probably after The Shining, maybe he was a little traumatized.
Yeah, or having too much of a good time and didn't care. I mean, it's not like he needed to
True.
work ever, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was definitely one that I would recommend anybody watch. It was great.
Yeah.
It's brutal, but it's just one of those things that you're like, what in the hell is going on? And you actually feel sorry for James Caan, which most people never do. But
What else other movies is that guy in?
well, he was in Rollerball. He was in some movies where he's a gangster or a bad guy, or
Gotcha.
he was the dad in Elf, right? The
Oh.
mean dad that didn't accept
Oh
Buddy
yeah,
the
you're
elf.
right.
Yeah,
Aw. I
yeah.
forgot I didn't make that
So
connection, but yeah, you're right.
yeah, and
Hmm.
I think he's done, like passed away. I'm not sure.
I think he did pass away recently.
Yeah. Well, let's go to number 8, and this one I remember going to see this at the theater. It's Jacob's Ladder. This was one that was just like one of those psychological ones. There was another one called The Serpent and the Rainbow that was this type of just psychological weird stuff. And
Hmm.
listen, I'll be honest, I don't remember anything about this thing that scared me or was it was just like weird, like almost like an artsy fartsy weird movie where the main actor, and I want to say Timothy no, what
Chalamet?
is
Just kidding.
no, I forgot what his name was. He kind of looks like Dana Carvey in it half the time, but it's not. I think it's the guy that was married to Gloria Weaver. I don't know.
Oh,
Fact
wait, is
check
it?
me. Fact check me, ABC News. Anyways, I don't know. This had nothing for me, nothing for me, and it's on all the major top 20 lists. Is Jacob's Ladder, and
Yeah.
it just didn't do anything for me at all. What did you find out about this?
So this was made in 1990, so right on that cusp. It influenced the Silent Hill video game. Did you ever play that?
Oh yeah, I did. I
Yeah, so it
did.
was influenced that video game. The plot linked to was I guess influenced by a secret drug experiment on Vietnam soldiers or soldiers in Vietnam. There was allegations that the US military would experiment on soldiers with hallucinogenic drugs during the Vietnam War. So that's kind of what the plot was linked to, which
Okay.
sounds sketch. The original ending was actually changed because test audiences found it really confusing. So there was some original ending floating out there, but they had to change it because it just didn't make sense to audiences.
Yeah, it did make sense to me that I can't even remember what it was. I mean, I just remember it was weird. There was another one called Altered States, same type of thing, in one of those chambers, and you went into all this weird stuff, but that wasn't my style. Wasn't my
Yeah.
style at all. So at number nine, though, this was my style. Dracula. Dracula with the buns, with the Princess Leia buns extended. This movie, I really looked forward to it because I am a huge fan of the traditional Universal monsters, and this had Gary Oldman in it, and Anthony Hopkins was in it. You had star power galore in this, and directed by Francis Ford Coppola. So. Winona Ryder was in this. This was just like
Oh
boom,
yeah.
boom, boom of
Yep.
the 90's. Everybody that was a big wig back then. And I can't imagine the budget was cheap at all. This was huge. And it was a great, great story, a great take, great special effects. Um, the fangs were super long. Most Draculas are little. The bat when he turned into a bat, um,
Hmm.
when Dracula um, uh, made anything on stage, it was creepy. And of course, there was the sexual aspect of it with um, the seduction that Dracula or any vampire could do to somebody. There's a scene in here though on the trailer that looks like the Emperor from Star Wars, and if you see it, you'll see it. It looks exactly like it, so that's kind of throwing me off a bit. But really good movie, really, really good movie. Um, it was just done so well. I loved it.
Yeah.
What'd you have on this?
So, you keep saying it was a really good movie, and so I think it was interesting to note that these were all practical effects. There was no CGI,
Yeah.
or they didn't use CGI. So it gave it that timeless, like eerie little quality. Um, Dracula, Gary Oldman, and Winona Ryder, Nina or Mina, had a lot of tension, like in real life. So
Oh.
there's a lot of drama with them, but it worked well for the film, I guess, because of who they were portraying.
And
Um,
Keanu Reeves was in this.
yeah, I was just about to say
Oh,
that.
sorry.
He was actually, no, you're perfect. It's fine. You're perfect. Keanu Reeves was criticized for his English accent, and he said that he was really exhausted at the time of his life, and so he couldn't really fully immerse himself in the English accent. So he was like really made fun of for that.
Oh
The
God.
last thing was that the wedding scene had a real Romanian Orthodox priest, so everybody was like, "Are they really actually married?" Because they did have the real guy there doing the little wedding scene. So.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I love Keanu Reeves and stuff, but I mean, John Wick, what does he say? Four words in five movies. So I don't even remember the English accent thing. I just remember it was really wonderful. It was called Bram Stoker's Dracula officially, but Dracula was it. And even had a pinball machine. I remember having it. We had it.
You still have it?
Of course not. Well, I have it on the
That's
virtual
that one.
pinball. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, so I do. So we're at number 10, and number 10 came from Asia, The Ring. And
Yeah.
I remember the hype around this. Once again, it's so funny how many horror movies are billed as the most horrifying, scary movie you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
And this one has been remade. It has been done, uh, different ways. It's been spoofed, parodies of this. Um,
Hmm.
I bought into the hype and went to the theater to see it. And aside from the little girl that crawls different ways and has long hair, didn't scare me one bit.
Mm.
And I've talked to people where this is the scariest movie they've ever seen. Didn't do
Did
it
you
for me.
see the one that came out in, I don't know, what,
Japan or
2000?
whatever, the Ringu or it's
No,
something like
no,
that.
like the remake of The Ring.
Yeah, yeah, I
The,
did.
you've seen that one? Did you
Yeah.
like that one?
No,
So okay, so this just might not be your vibe.
it wasn't. Yeah, it just didn't do it for me. I mean, I appreciated it. We have iconic scenes like the TV scene that's
Yeah.
coming out, and the well, that was
Hmm.
great, but
Oh,
it didn't
my
do
tattoo.
anything for me. Oh, is
I
that
just
it?
realized.
Oh,
No, it's not
that's a
based on that.
wishing
It's
well.
yeah,
It's not the
same
ring
thing.
well. Could be the
Okay.
ringworm.
Gross. Um, so this movie was filmed in 1998 or came out in 1998. It had that cursed tape, they put the tape in and then
Yeah.
it's some scary movie. It was made in reverse to make it more eerie and, unsettling and unnatural, which kind of reminds me of the Office scene where what's his face has that scary Halloween party, Gabe, and he puts in his video and it's like Stanley shaving his mustache, and but it's in back. It's funny. I'm just gonna assume that's a spin-off of this type of curse tape.
Oh, yeah.
The lady said Sadoko, based on Euro, whatever. The scary person is based on a Japanese folklore where the woman like returns from the dead and needs to seek revenge, and so it was based
Ooh.
on some Japanese folklore and like this that the I like this the ring one, the ring two. I like it. I think
Yeah.
it's
A
spooky.
lot of people do. It just didn't get me.
Did it resonate with you?
Did not resonate at all. But neither did number 11. This is Stephen King's It, the original,
Mm-hmm.
um, with Tim Curry
Yeah.
playing Pennywise, the clown. And Tim Curry was famous for Rocky Horror Picture Show as Dr. Frankenfurter, and really a phenomenal actor. This was made for TV, and
Really?
it was yeah, it's a mini series or two parts, something like that. Um, and Rolling Stone, I believe it was Rolling Stone, had a review and it said it is shit, and
Huh.
that was it. And I didn't think it was good either. It wasn't, this is when Stephen King stuff, you knew the book. Everybody loved the books of Stephen King, those that read, not me.
Right.
And I would love them if I read. But I just wait and see the movie. And the movies they said had nothing as horrific as what the book was. And this was that same thing. I mean, there were cool elements in it. There was some creepy stuff, but it wasn't as scary as the new Pennywise. I think they did a really good job on the
Hmm.
new It. This one just didn't do it for me at all. And most people don't like this one either. Now,
Right.
if you do, great. I mean, we all have different tastes, but this one just didn't do it. I don't know. I think it was later released theatrical. Um, but what do you have on this?
I kind of agree that Clown could have been scarier, and I really like the Skarsgård, whatever that guy's name is, his version.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm going to appreciate the original and Tim Curry, of course, as well. But he was actually, Tim Curry was hesitant to play Pennywise because he didn't want to spend hours in the makeup chair. But actually, the makeup was simple, so he didn't have to spend hours. But then we have the
That was
myth
simply
of
dumb.
his, yeah, that's us,
Yeah.
exactly. Pennywise's voice was drawn from the Wizard of Oz Munchkin. So that's where they kind of based his voice off of, which
Oh,
if you think about it, it makes sense. You can hear that similarity. The ending spider scene, everybody said was really disappointing. It wasn't as, scary as it could have been or, you
right.
thought of when you're reading the book. It was filmed in Vancouver, Canada, at some really haunted locations like Stanley Park and like haunted in real life. That's what I mean. The sewer scene wasn't in the original script, but I think that was a really good scene where he's, in the sewer.
Yeah.
You see him in there. I think that was a good spooky scene, but apparently it wasn't in the original script.
Huh.
So yeah,
Well, I don't know. I thought, I
I
wouldn't
feel
see
like
it
you could
again.
go with like the other one that came out recently.
Yeah, I like the last two, so we'll see.
Yeah. Yep.
At number 12 is Dusk Till Dawn. And
Mhm.
this was a star power movie. You had George Clooney, directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Yep.
It was like, okay, let's do a cool vampire movie with the cool guy of the time, and Quentin Tarantino's gonna put himself in the movie too. And um, I mean, it did. I wasn't thrilled with this one either. It could have been a buddy movie, and they throw in the vampires. They throw in, I think, was it Selma Hayek in this? I know Juliette Lewis was in it. The vampire scenes were cool. The stake scenes were cool. The violence was crazy. Um, I don't know. It was okay, but it's not something I'd ever go back to. Lots and lots of graphic violence and the crossbow shooting and just boom, 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 constant. It was like an action film
Yeah.
more than a horror film, I think. Um, so it was written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Robert Rodriguez, and it had a cult following. I didn't I didn't really find it that great.
Well,
Wouldn't
let
have
me
made
give you
my
some
top
great
20.
facts
Okay,
instead
let's hear it.
then. The
Fix
script
me
was
up.
written in 2 weeks,
Yeah, it looks
which
like it.
is Clooney's tribal tattoo was fake, but then he decided to get a real one in the same style later on.
Oh, bet
Mm.
he regrets
Um,
that.
oh no, maybe. Seth Gecko almost was played by John Travolta, but John Travolta was in the middle of filming Pulp Fiction, so he did that one instead, which obviously was
Why was he
way
in the
better.
middle of filming Pulp Fiction when Tarantino directed that and then was in this?
Okay, well, that's where my facts aren't as great.
Oh, oh, okay.
Maybe I misspoke and said he wanted to do Pulp Fiction instead
Ah,
of Seth Gecko, and so he had
oh,
to
didn't mean to
choose.
call you out on the camera.
Yeah, thanks a lot for all my friends. All right, the last one I have is that the special effects crew made 500 gallons of fake blood that was used for like the crazy explosive vampire death scene. So
Yeah,
500 gallons of some stinky blood.
yeah, great.
That's all I got.
Kind of a waste. Not a favorite of mine. Um, that leads us to number 13, which is another one where a lot of stars get involved. I know what you
Yep.
did last summer. So you had Sarah Michelle Gellar and her
Mm-hmm.
soon-to-be husband, Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, woo.
Um, who else is it? Jennifer Love Hewitt, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I
And
can
this,
think of.
so you got these high-powered uh teen 20ish stars of the decade, and they're thrown into I bet you a pretty high budget movie. Looks really good, and it wasn't a bad story or anything. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Um,
Hmm.
and it's a good watch. It's a good story. I
Yeah,
liked it.
I like this one. Yeah, this one is a good one. You mentioned all the stars. I think that's a an appealing factor for it. Some of the little facts that I found about it was that it was often compared to Scream, which I get. But the
Yeah.
script was actually written before Scream, so maybe Scream took it from them. But this was based on a 1973 novel, and the author was actually really upset about how the film came out. She wanted it to be more suspenseful and mysterious, but it was more slasher and gory. And her daughter, the author's daughter in real life, actually died of a violent crime or from a violent crime.
Oh
And so she
no.
was really upset about like the focus on murder and gore of this movie. So she didn't really like that. Um, there was a contest winning kid. So a kid won a contest or something and happened to be on the set of this film, and he yelled out the line, "What are you waiting for?" And so that line was actually used in the movie. I guess I can't quite remember that line being
Yeah.
said, but apparently it's like a major one. And so it was actually written by like a little kid came up with that. And just like you said, it was full of lots of future stars and heartthrobs. So
Yeah.
I like this movie. I
Stars of
think
the
it's good.
time. Yeah, it was a
Right.
generational movie and that was cool. But it's again, it's another one I wouldn't go back and watch. I mean, you had Final Destinations coming out and that sort of thing at the
Oh
same
yeah.
time, and I don't know. I think it was just on star power for the success of this. Um, then came a creepy one, number 14, The Faculty. Um, and even on the movie poster, it calls out hip and scary. I mean,
Hip.
hip and scary.
Those
Um,
words don't match.
yeah, so the same guy that did From Dusk Till Dawn, um,
Scream, I know what you
writer,
did
screen,
last
yeah,
summer.
all that. Yeah, so this whole type of thing again with star power or wanting to be star power, folks. That kid
Hmm.
looked like Usher. I wonder if that's who.
Yes, it is. That's
Is
one
it
of my
really?
facts. Yeah, Usher was in this.
I didn't
Yeah,
know. And who's? Oh yeah. Do you have who starred in this?
I don't just Usher. That's all I
Yeah,
got.
I just saw it in the trailer.
That's
I'm like,
funny.
that is that Usher? So
Yep.
yeah,
Um,
there he is. Yeah. So another another non-memorable movie for me, and I think that kind of is how I feel about a lot of the 90s movies in this. So I was huge fan in 70s and 80s movies. 90s, there were some big stuff for me, and we're going to get to a couple more of them. And we've already talked about like Silence of the Lambs, which I thought was just amazing. But then it hit these, let's get the hot stars, let's get the Friends type stars into these movies. We'll make a horror movie around them. We'll capitalize on Scream, the success of Scream, try and duplicate that success and put out these different movies. And none of them to me were memorable at all. And I'm really surprised they made so many top 20 lists because
yeah.
it didn't hit it for me. I don't know.
Yeah, this one, I would have thought you would have liked it because it does reference a lot of classic horror films within the movie. So they like discuss the Invasion of the Body Snatchers
Yeah.
and The Thing, which are some movies that we talked about in our previous videos. We already talked about how Usha had a role in this film, which I think is really interesting. And it was filmed at a real high school in Texas. Cool. I
Yeah.
don't know what high
Yeah,
school,
it's
but
again, whoopee or yeehaw for Texas. I don't know. It wasn't for me. And I think again the trend for the 90s was star power. As we
yeah,
see in number 15. So Sleepy Hollow, who do we got in there? Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, and you know, Sleepy Hollow to me was something they showed us at Halloween time in elementary school with the projector. And it
yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
Disney Sleepy Hollow with Ichabod Crane, and he had a giant nose. It was cartoon, and that was always Sleepy. And to this day, that's still Sleepy Hollow to me. The Headless Horseman and Ichabod Crane, the Disney film. This to me, again, didn't make an impact on me whatsoever. Saw it
Wow.
later after the release
Hater
on
list?
DVD. Yeah, didn't make anything for me. I didn't even think, looking at the trailer, like it didn't make me want to go see it at all. And I think again, so many of these movies relied on the star power. The movie poster is Johnny Depp looking at you and Christina Ricci looking at you cheek to cheek. And then down underneath that is the Headless Horseman. And I don't get there is the weirdo guy that I think got in trouble with the law from Ferris Bueller's. He was the principal. He's in it too.
Oh.
You know who that is?
I don't want to admit this on live television right now that I haven't seen Ferris Bueller's
Oh
Day
my
Off.
God.
I know,
Let's
I'm
turn
sorry.
this
I know
off.
the references, Bueller, I know but I've
Oh,
never
you got
actually
to see
seen it
that.
fully.
That's better
I
than
know.
half of the movies on this list. More than half the movies on this list. But yeah, this wasn't anything but a grab, I think, at an old story that was okay. The effects were
Right.
good. They're a big budget, obviously. Probably most of the budget went into Johnny Depp's pocket. Good for him. I'm a fan of Johnny Depp, but it just wasn't anything that I didn't rush out to go see it at all. I waited till a DVD ended up at my house, and that's when I watched it, and that was it.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, this won an Oscar for Best Art Direction. So I know you're being a hater, but apparently it had like a spooky storybook, like horror fairy tale vibe, which seems appealing. Um, there was actually no dialogue for the Headless Horseman, which who played the Headless Horseman then?
Uh, I didn't recognize his face.
Yeah, I was gonna say that joke. Dumb.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
it was another pass at number 15, and then came Arachnophobia at 16. Now Arachnophobia had all the critics loving it. Siskel and Ebert were huge back then, and they both have passed away. But you actually watched the Siskel and Ebert show at this time to see what movies to see. You really relied on them. They were Chicago journalists that got their own show, and just I mean they were right on most everything. They were really really good. So this was a fun horror only because of arachnophobia, the fear of spiders movie. It
Right.
was not a scary movie. It was about spiders, and John Goodman was in it. Who
Oh, I
else was
like
in it?
him.
Was the guy from Full House in it? I thought he was.
What? Which guy? You know
The
I love Full House.
Uncle Dave, or the guy that.
Dave Coulier,
Yeah, I'm
Coulier.
wondering if that's him. I'm looking at the trailer. I'm wondering if that's him, the guy that broke
Uncle Joey?
Alanis Morissette's heart.
In the movie theater?
No, in her song,
No,
supposedly.
I know, but she references a
Yeah, in the
movie
movie
theater.
theater. No, we're not talking that way. Yeah, it is. It is.
Nasty.
It is. No, it's not. My God,
Are
it's the
you
guy
kidding
from
me?
Dumb and
Cut
Dumber.
this
It's
out.
Jeff Daniels.
Oh,
Clip.
they
It's
do kind of look similar though, if you
yeah.
think about it.
But
I never
okay,
thought
you
about
want
that.
another mistaken identity? It almost looked like the guy that did it, but it's not. The guy that does the dance in Silence of the Lambs, but it's not the killer. The more lotion guy.
Oh,
Anyways,
yeah,
I
yeah,
listen,
yeah.
I went to the theater to see this. I bought into the hype, and it was a fun movie. It wasn't scary whatsoever.
Yeah.
Um, but gosh, I'm trying to think who it was that said it's the most scary movie they've ever seen. Somebody
They
I'm
have
working with right
arachnophobia? Is
now.
that why?
What? Because what?
Did
Yeah,
they
they
have
yeah, they
arachnophobia?
have to because this is not the scariest movie ever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I brought that up in a meeting as an icebreaker. What's the scariest movie? And they said arachnophobia, and I said, you got to be kidding me. But that so maybe it does scare some folks. I don't know if it scared you. Put it in the comments. God bless you. Hope you get help for your arachnophobia. But listen, I hate spiders, but this
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't do anything for me. Nothing. You got to have some cool facts on this one.
Yeah, so there were 300 real spiders used. Remember how I said those hissing cockroaches in a previous
Yeah, yeah, that made the
video?
sound.
They were from, I said the cockroaches were from New Zealand. I was incorrect. These spiders were from New Zealand, just in case you needed to know that. They were large, but they were non-aggressive and docile, kind of like us. Large but
Yeah.
non-aggressive. Um, the spider wrangler or entomologist, hopefully I'm saying that right, Stephen Kucher, used heat and
Stephen, what?
cold. Stephen Cucci, used heat and cold, and air to like hook. I can't say that word, to lure and make the spiders move around because they can't be trained, obviously.
Oh,
Big
really?
Bob was a Goliath bird-eating tarantula, in case you wondered.
Yeah.
And then you kind of said that this was really more like a thrill comedy, lighthearted, entertaining experience, not meant to be scary unless I guess you have a really deep fear of spiders.
Yeah, which is again crazy that it's made these lists. I
Yeah.
mean, so we gathered these lists not only from Chat GPT, but other websites that have listed them.
Historical books. I went to
Yeah,
the library,
I don't
checked
get
out
it.
multiple
I don't get it at all.
multiple
It
stories.
just it wasn't it for me. I mean, that was number 16. Number 17 though, now we're getting somewhere. Species.
Oh,
And this had more again, star power was modeled and Natasha, what the heck's her name? I don't remember what her name is. This was her first debut movie. I think she was a model ahead of that. Gorgeous blonde girl, and she's like can turn into to bad things that will get you. If I remember this one right, there's a point where she kills someone with her tongue, like it goes through them or
um,
something like that.
creepy.
Yeah. So let's think of back to our 1970s thing where it's alive and they're searching for the baby. This is they're searching for this mutation blonde girl that is got her hair perfect at all times. Um, Dresses sexy. And it had star power in this. Um, Forrest Whitaker's in this thing, and he was, he's big Academy Award winner. Um, it had sexy stuff in it, and I think that was part of the appeal. They were trying to pull in the aliens versus the sexy, and the sexy was the alien. So I don't know. It was creepy. I saw it at the theater. I liked it. I probably watched it again once or twice, and the effects were really really good. Ben Kingsley was in it. Now this is the guy that won the Oscar
Mm.
for Gandhi. So again, star power. I think we're seeing this trend in the 90's where they brought in the big stars to get into these horror movies. That's probably where half the budget got ate up because it
Yeah.
wasn't in the script in half of these things. And that's what made these movies happen for us. So what do you got on this? Anything special about it?
Yeah, the alien design was created by H.R. Geiger,
Oh,
who
so
actually
same guy that
designed
did
the,
Alien. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Michelle Williams played younger Syl, which was her first like major step into Hollywood.
Who's
Um,
Michelle Williams?
I don't know. Oh no, it's some
Michelle
lady.
Williams. Is she
It's
related to
obviously
Robbie Williams? Is it Robbie Williams'
no,
mom?
no, her
Oh,
aunt. Um, the you said Ben Kingsley was had a role in this. Well, he actually took the role to fund renovations for his house. So,
oh,
mm,
all right.
interesting.
You gotta have it.
Real
You have it.
during the transformation scenes, like I'm assuming with the alien, um, they used real childbirth recording like sounds, which is kind of weird.
That is
I don't know
really weird.
I don't know how I feel. That's
Yeah, why can't you
all
just
I
make
got.
those sounds up? Why would you? That's just some pervert weirdo sound guy.
I don't know.
I don't get it.
Probably. There's a lot of pervs in this world.
Well, so
Speaking
that
of
leads us in
pervs,
that leads us into 18, which is Mimic. And again, you have star power. What's her name? Maria Servina, I think, is it? Yeah. Which I believe she's an Oscar winner also. Um, and it's, you know, an illness that changes, it's transforming. It's almost like you're looking at an aliens and species is the same thing. You're looking at duplicate style of movies. Um, this is more bio, I think, hazard type stuff, but I don't know. I remember going to the theater, seeing it, and thinking, "Oh, okay, that was cool," and then that was it. It wasn't anything great for me. It was a lot of like X-Files type stuff.
I do like
Investigation of
X-Files.
why this is happening and what's going on. And as far as the horror element to it, I don't know that it really had any that made me like freak out or get
Right.
scared or anything like that.
Hmm.
Did you get a chance to pull up anything on this one?
Yeah, so Guillermo del Toro
Which is one of
didn't
my
like,
favorites.
oh, okay. Well, he didn't like how the film turned out either. He had a
Good. Well,
very
then that's
frustrating
why we're buddies.
experience. Yeah. Real cockroaches were used. Disgusting. Um, there were two sequels, and I'm surprised you didn't say this. Maybe when I say it, you'll know. A line of comic books came from this movie. Do you know of that?
No, no,
Okay, well,
I did.
apparently there are a line of comic books that came after, um, based on this movie. So maybe take a look at it and
Yeah,
see if you
I don't
know.
know. Yeah, it didn't really do anything for me. It was just like one of those, okay, ending, okay, good, and then be done with it. So again, these were good actors going into Hollywood and making these horror movies, and I'm sure they were enticed with really good paychecks, and
Right.
yeah, I- nothing special for me on this one at 18. Now, 19. Let's do the theme again about Hollywood actors because this was Michael J. Fox in a horror
Yep.
movie. And I remember going to the theater to see this, and it was scary. I thought it was really well done. Um, the camera angles were great. There was all kinds of creepy stuff. It was, the haunted house type thing with ghosts and stuff getting you, um, and Michael J. Fox, I think, is a fantastic actor. Um,
Yeah.
this was a lot of computer generated graphics. The ghosts were very much like the Ghostbuster style, where it looked like a hologram, and they
Right.
did a good job on it. So I think there was some comedic efforts into this. There was um, recognizable things. One of the fun parts was the drill sergeant. eh, Yeah, it was either in Stanley Kubrick's what the hell is that now? I can't even think of it. He's a famous drill sergeant in a movie, and he was a drill sergeant in real life. He's a ghost in this too. So
Oh, okay.
it was fun. They take the Freddy Krueger thing, the wall coming
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
and use that scene. So there's a lot of fun. There's a lot of comedy. The ghosts are funny, but there was some scary stuff in it too, and it was
Yeah.
well done. It's got to be a huge production budget on this one.
I would, yeah, I don't have that written down, but I would assume so because who was the director? Peter Jackson, who did, do you
Lord of the
know?
Rings,
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. So I would assume they had a
and
pretty
one of the
good
worst horror
budget.
movies ever.
What?
You and Manda see it. I've seen it. There's like giant boobs, like 2 story long, tall boobs, and a guy chops up people with a lawnmower. It's like Peter Jackson's first movie.
So I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah, I know
They,
you have.
okay,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna have to look
Google it
that up.
while you do facts.
Okay, yeah, because I can't remember that one, but yeah, like I said, it was directed by Peter Jackson, who did Lord of the Rings. This was Michael J. Fox's last lead role in a live action film before he started going to
Dead
voice acting
Alive.
and TV.
It's called Dead Alive. That's the Peter Jackson movie with the giant boobs.
Dead a lot. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yep.
I don't remember. But yeah, it was his last role in live action film before going to movies and, or sorry, before going to TV and voice acting. And then, of course, he had Parkinson's, which is awful, or has it. This was originally intended as a Tales from the Crypt movie franchise,
Oh
which I think is
wow.
interesting, but then they decided against it. It was one of the earliest films to feature extensive use of CGI.
Yeah.
And then it was filmed in New Zealand in a really haunted town, a real life haunted town.
Doesn't he usually film in New Zealand? I think he usually does.
Or- Yeah, where was Lord of the Rings? God, I can't remember.
Probably New Zealand.
Maybe.
Well, let's talk about Interview with a Vampire, which is number 20. Uh, Star Power, Tom Cruise, Brad
Take a shot
Pitt.
every time you say star power.
Yeah, drink if it's a drinking game. If I say it's influenced by the Hollywood Star Power. Yeah, Brad Pitt's in it, Tom Cruise is in it.
Mhm.
Um, Little Kristen Dunst, which is
I can I say
about
something about that?
yeah, there's something about the kiss. Like
Yeah,
She's a little
she was
kid.
11. She was
Yeah,
11 and she
yeah.
had to kiss Brad Pitt and he was 30. That's
Yeah.
disgusting and
Well,
traumatizing. She probably has
and
trauma
Tom
from that.
Cruise looks like Tiny Tim half the time with the wig, but most people, unless you're my age, don't know who Tiny Tim is. Um, but the movie was good. I loved
I
it.
can't support it. I can't support that film,
Well, I
knowing
get
that
it. Yeah,
that was
yeah. I
creepy.
mean, Kristen Dunst's been asked about it a billion times, and I don't think there
She
was.
just says it was like uncomfortable and weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but we're
I
talking
know it was a different time.
still. It's still stupid gross,
It's,
but
yeah, it's still gross, but I mean, I feel like that would not go over at all and now for sure.
yeah.
But I'm sure people still thought it was extremely weird.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it is weird, but um, the movie itself was creepy, was good, great story. Had to have a huge budget because it was,
Mhm.
um, I mean, the sets, the costumes, the
Makeup
burning
and
of
stuff.
everything. It was amazing, and lived up to the hype. This was an Anne Rice book, and Anne
Hmm.
Rice, when I was in high school, I think it was high school or junior high, you were a cool kid if you read Anne Rice because she did all these vampire type things.
Yeah.
Much like what happened with Twilight generations later, this was that type of thing where everybody was
Okay.
like, "Oh, did you read Interview with a Vampire?" Blah 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 blah, and that was that. So I don't know. It was all right. What
Well,
facts did you have on?
let me kind of talk about a couple facts. So we talked about the nastiness that an 11-year-old is kissing a 30-year-old.
Yeah,
Weird. But Tom Cruise who was cast as Lestat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name
yeah,
right. Anne Rice, who we just spoke of, she was actually outraged when he was cast as like that character. She
really.
said that Cruise was entirely wrong for this role, but she saw his performance and wrote him an apology letter and said, sorry
Oh, and
about
I
that.
bet
Never
he
mind.
was so relieved to get an apology letter
Oh,
from Anne Rice.
yeah, for sure. They had to wear the vampires had to wear thick, hard, hand painted contact lenses, and apparently they could all barely see anything. So that must have been really hard to
Yeah,
work with.
because I mean, they had the creepy eyes and all that stuff, which was really, I thought was super cool. But
Right.
I just thought it was a really well-made movie. It was fun. I don't remember if there was jump scares, but it was creepy and it was good and it told a good story, much
Yeah.
like the book, supposedly, for those that read it. I didn't read it, so I really have no idea. But let's go to our bonus one, and guess what it has?
Star power.
Star
Take a
power it
shot.
is.
Take a shot.
Star power for 400, Alex. Listen, this one
What
is
is star
7.
power?
This is star power. What was that in the back?
Stop! It's just the blurring going away. I do
Okay.
not need this right now. I'm
Woo,
home
that was
alone.
spooky. So this is 7, and this had Brad Pitt in it. Um,
Mr. Pitt himself.
Mr. Pitt himself. And who did he co-star with?
Don't ask me quizzing
Oh,
questions
come
because I
on.
haven't seen this one.
You haven't?
What is it called again?
7. Morgan
Yeah, I was
Freeman.
thinking, oh, well, we all love him. When
We
I saw
all love
Seven,
him.
I immediately think of Stranger Things.
Well,
So,
think of this. Think of
okay.
there's a lot of iconic things in this movie, and one is what's in the box at the end. And
But wait, that SNL skit?
no, not that kind of thing in the box, the Justin Timberlake thing.
Yeah.
This was something, well, it's kind of, I guess it was a head in the box. So um,
Ew,
at the end,
too
this was a
far.
great one. This was um, it was it was a detective, it was psychological, it had Silence of the Lambs type stuff in it. It was really well done, and and it was really well acted. I mean, Brad Pitt was phenomenal in this movie. Gwyneth Paltrow, phenomenal until she lost her head, was in this movie. It was just really, really good. And um, and it made horror lists. When you could really say, is Silence of the Lambs horror? I think Silence of the Lambs was a little bit more. But this was a play on the seven deadly sins. So
Mm.
lust, envy, all that kind of thing. Um, It's a great one. It's worth, if you haven't seen this, it's absolutely worth watching, and it will stick with you. They did such a really good job on this. Big budget, I'm sure.
Big
Star
stars,
power. Chuck, chuck, chuck. Um,
big boobs.
it was great. But it just kind of makes me think of how these 90 horror movies, and on this list, I would say most of them were not horror, they were more thriller, psychological
Yeah,
thriller, which maybe people think that is horror. Okay. But I would absolutely mix this list up, and I could give you uh, at least 18 true horror movies of the 1990s on my own list that would scare the hell out of you. And but again, we took these as we've been consistent from the sources that we've done from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and next time we'll do the 2000s and the 2010s, and then to the current. But I don't know. This was a great one, a great movie. I don't know that it's monster, scary, devil, horror. What do you think?
yeah.
Although it could be maybe a little supernatural in this.
Well, I got nothing on this one. I wanted to let you just take over the Seven movie. So I
Oh,
didn't research this one, but you did say to watch it, so maybe I will if it's a really good one. And you
yeah.
added it to our list, so it must be pretty good.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
very high quality. It's very good. It was my bonus pick, and I just thought it was one that it had a lasting horrific ending that you were just like, what in the hell happened? And then that was that. I loved it. So that's it. That's our 1990s semi semi horror show, according to um, different sources on the internet, and we compiled them and even checked with Chat GPT, and this is what was consistent on most people's top 20 list. And as we walked through this today, yeah, there's a lot on there that you saw that genre go towards, let's get the big stars, let's do a good budget. You didn't see a lot of B movies on this list. However, I would say a lot of the B movies were the true horror movies in the 1990s, and maybe we'll later on go explore that. With the comments that we got on some of the last two videos, and thank you very much. We hit over 600 and some views on our 80s stuff. Um, I would like to do an underrated video. One of the commenters had a list of about 15 movies. Go see these. And I remember somebody also said, "What about Basket Case? And what about Extra?" And some of those are some of my absolute favorite movies, and they were B and even C. I always like blood sucking freaks, and that's I don't even know what genre, 1960s maybe or 70s. Um, but I'd like to do a show on those underrated, maybe make hardly anyone's list except for the super hardcore fans, and then we'll try something like that. But I'm good with this one. 1990s. That's a wrap on this one.
yeah.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and like and subscribe. Love the comments.
Hmm.
Please give us some of your thoughts on these 1990s. We're both not too thrilled with the list, and we'd
Hey,
love
I
suggestions.
liked a good chunk of them.
Did you?
Two of my favorites, but Blair Witch and Leprechaun.
Speaking of
Two
which,
out of 20. Knock it off. Stop. I hate
all right.
Leprechaun.
So we'll see you in a week with the 2000s. Thanks so much. This is Steve with ActionNerd.com and my daughter Danielle.
Yep.
See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.